My name is Davis Wardwell. I'm 18
My
years
name's
old.
Lisa
My name is
Hannon.
Noah Blunt. I'm the student pastor here
Trio
at Westside.
Quinn. I'm actually Charlie's cousin.
David Thomas, here with Charlie.
Austin Gregory. Thank you for having
My
me.
name is Donovan
My name is
Jones.
Micah Aver. I'm a student at Lounge High
All
School.
right. Well, Mr. Charlie, you're going to lead us out here tonight on your Young Minds podcast.
Welcome back to the Young Minds Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Christian Worldview Film Festival. And you're probably thinking, for those who don't know what that is, you're probably thinking, what in the world are you talking about? Charlie, what in the world are you talking about? So what the Christian Worldview Film Festival is, for those who don't know, is a film festival, and also it has a guild in there where people can learn more about film from a Christian lens. Collaborate with and talk to other people and like-minded Christians around the world, because there was people from Australia, Germany, and everywhere else at this film festival in Albany, Georgia, and Sherwood. It was helped run by the Kendrick brothers, which I'll get to them more later. But it was really, really cool because you get to see a bunch of films, get a bunch of ideas, and things like that. But first off, I want to talk about the person I went with. So, I went with Gavin MCcracken, and many of you have probably heard me say his name and things like that on here because me and him made a short film back in the summer. And also, we've done a few collaborations with him taking photos for me and everything for Young Minds and all that. He's a wonderful, wonderful person just to be around. And so, I spent the week with him. And, we're, we didn't know what to expect and everything because me and him have never actually been in a motel by ourselves without our parents. And so we were like, what in the world? How's this going to go? The first day, our parents, rode up there with us, check everything out, whatever, and because it was a new area, we didn't know where we were. And so while me and Gavin did other things, and so they checked it out, got us checked in, because apparently we couldn't check in because we weren't 21. So, that's something funny. So we, we get into the hotel after we finish everything on Monday, and, but, me and Gavin were just like, oh my gosh, we've never stayed in a motel or whatever before. And I wanted to mention this at the beginning as well. Pictures, if you're on YouTube and Spotify, will be flashing throughout the video, so make sure you're looking at that in a random. It won't be in no particular order. It's just gonna be going through them. But we're in this motel, and we realize we're kind of looking around, and one of the funniest things in there was that this motel's pretty old. So there is a sauna in the bathroom, and there's a picture probably gonna be on there. I doctored it up and made it darker red, but there's probably a picture somewhere going to be floating around on the screen there. But that was really funny. And also there was roosters walking around. We have another picture of that too. Roosters walking around in the parking lot of the motel. Thankfully, it didn't wake us up because the AC was pretty loud. But yeah, so that was kind of the motel. And then also, with me and Gavin, we didn't really know what to expect, but we had to sit together, and also God allowed us to grow in our independence, because we didn't have our parents around to, say, hey, make sure you do this and that. Sure, they were only like an hour and a half away, but still, it was kind of nice to kind of grow in our independence a little bit together and figure things out, and, have the freedom to do what we wanted to do, and so, Monday was good, and Tuesday was good as well, learning different classes. We went to some audio classes, went to some cinematography classes, and went to some different, classes that, talked about just the intro to film was another one, and, kind of the process of how to make an award-winning film was another one. And, all those classes, we were going to those, pretty strategically, because we knew that we wanted to make another short film, after we had learned from all this stuff. And, so we were like, okay, next we're sitting there. We've been trying to think of ideas all week. and I won't say what it is, but, because I don't want to spoil anything, but, on the last day, like pretty like the last night in the hotel, me and Gavin are sitting there. Gavin's doodling, and trying to figure out ideas. And I'm like, well, what you working on? He said, just trying to figure some ideas up, and and we've already kind of come up with an idea of what the film's going to be, but we were at a roadblock after that. And we got inspiration from Aspen Kennedy, because Aspen, if you guys don't know, he spoke at the Christian Film Festival, and he is the main character from The Forge. He plays Isaiah in The Forge, and he spoke. And, he talked about, what we were inspired to do the film on. And it was so crazy to me because, we're sitting there trying to figure out, like, what in the world? What's this going to be? Like, how, how are we going to convey it and everything like that? Well, then just the last night in the hotel, me and Gavin, we just started spitting out ideas, and we just loved them all. Like, some things I'm sure they'll change and everything, but we've got a basic kind of a basic outline and idea now of the film, and I'm super excited to, show more and more of that. By the way, at the end of this video, there will be a video that pops up for our last short film that we did, What Now? You should go check that out if you get the chance, if you're on YouTube. So it'll be linked also at Apple and Spotify as well at the bottom. So, that was one part of it, and, us Gavin just hanging out in the hotel and things. That was really cool, just to kind of get to grow with him and get to know him better. We've worked together as colleagues in the past, when I volunteered at Northside and still do, and he was working there, we talked a lot and things like that, but this really helped us grow, help us grew, we really grew, talking with each other and things like that, and, just hanging out with each other for a week, which is really, really neat, and, God allowing us to, to grow in that way and, be more friends, so that way we can continue to make films together and make them better, because we got to collaborate and we've got to know each other, right? And know our strengths and our weaknesses. So it was really, really neat to do that. Also too, one thing that was really neat is that Miss Lisa Hannah, she was the one that sent us on this, I can't not mention her. She was the one that felt God was telling her, hey, send Gavin and Charlie to this, film festival, and she was a little hesitant at first, but, she did it, and, man, it was awesome, like I've been saying. But one of the other cool things that she gave us these little cards. I have them anywhere I go, but, they're witness cards, essentially. You just put them in, and sometimes if you're in a hurry, sometimes you may be in a restaurant and you can't really have time to talk to the person. So what you do, put it on the table, and, the waiter or waitress, they'll find it. You pray that they don't throw it away or anything, but that's, you've planted the seed, and, it's up to them to do what they're going to do with it once you've done that. So, we put them everywhere, restaurants, in Sherwood, which was the church we were at, we just kind of spread it around everywhere. Just because we were at a Christian film festival doesn't mean the Christian doesn't need encouragement too, right? So, we were putting them everywhere. Sometimes they were falling out of my pocket and I had to pick them back up. And, and so, that was one part of it. But, in terms of the classes, the classes were so in depth, in terms of the detail they went into. And, me and Gavin were like, man, sure, we didn't exactly know what we were doing on our first short film, but, this really is covering so much of the questions we had going into the first one. And that's why we're so excited to make the second one, because we have so much more knowledge now. And sure, it's not going to be like a high budget film, or whatever, but we're definitely going to make it better than we did last time. And, we have that drive and we have that knowledge now of what things are going to look like. And of course you can think of a scene in your head and, it turned out completely different once you put it to film, and that's okay. But, some of the really neat things was to see all the different films that were going to be coming and people that have already worked on things. Like, so many conversations me and Gavin had was that, yeah, my film's releasing on Amazon Prime here or there. And I'm like, good Lord, people are really like, going for it. And it's really an encouragement, not just for the films that they showed, but I'll get to those here in a little bit. But just some of the projects that other people, individuals had, because they were handing out cards of what they had. And I've got a bunch of them in my wallet still, all the different films that, they had. and everything, and that people were making, and it was really cool because I mean they're all Christian films, but they might be hitting some deeper topics like depression and anxiety, things like that. And I've said, time and time again that the church and its people need to focus more on those topics because people deal with them all the time. We can't sit around and do nothing because those are real things and real issues that people deal with, and we have to focus on it more. But that was really, really neat to see all those things, and there was some really cool films as well. But one thing I did want to say, because I forgot to mention it, the hotel part, because I don't know if you can tell, but this is not scripted at all. I'm just going off the cuff. So when me and Gavin, I think it was like the first night back, we get back, and I think it was like Tuesday, and we got back pretty early because I think Tuesday ended earlier than the rest of the nights. And a good thing too, praise the Lord it did, because we try to swipe our key card to get into our room, and it's not working. We're like, what in the world? And mind you, I said this motel's pretty old, so it was part of the reason why. And so we go to the front desk, so the guy gives us copies of them, and then we swipe those. Those don't work either. Or he gave us I don't know what he did. He didn't give us exact copies of them or whatever, but he didn't make new ones yet. And so we did those, and they didn't work. And so we had to go up there a second time, and he gave us 2 new ones, and they finally worked. And I'll tell you right now, that was funny now, but it was kind of scary when we first sitting out the door. We're like, oh my gosh, dear Lord, please. We're praying over this door like it better open right now, because all our stuff's in there and everything. And, we're kind of worried about it, a little bit, like what in the world? This is our first time at a hotel by ourselves, and we can't get in the door. And so it was a little nerve-wracking there, but that was funny now to think back on. But just some of the cool things and some of the people we got to meet. So me and Gavin, and Wednesday was arguably the best day for classes and everything else. Gavin and I, we got to meet Stephen Kendrick, and if he's listening to this, Stephen, it was wonderful to meet you. Alex, we, sorry we missed you, but hopefully we can see you again. Or see you in person. I know we got to see you, but we didn't ever get to talk to you. But Stephen, it was wonderful to see you. And quite a surprise, really. You came around the corner, and I was like, oh my gosh, because really cool thing. Stephen Kendrick actually saw a short film, which that still means to the world to me and Gavin. That was really cool to hear that. And I have to have a shout out to Miss Lisa again, because she got us connected with the Kendrick brothers' mom. To make sure that we, at least met one of them, or if not both, of, the Kendrick brothers. And it was really, really neat to talk to them because they are such down-to-earth people. Of course, you always wonder when you see somebody that has a little bit of, I'm not going to say fame, but, they have a bit of notoriety to their name and, things like that. You wonder how in the world are they going to be just around people, but the Kendrick brothers, they are, such down-to-earth people. And honestly, in my personal opinion, they were the best speakers, at the whole thing. Every time they got up to speak, it just made sense, and they were down to the point. But it was really cool to meet them, and I've got a picture as well with Steven, and me and Gavin got a picture of Steven. It's probably already shown on the screen by now if you're on Spotify and YouTube, and it'll probably be flashing around as well. But that was really cool. And then also, Gavin got to meet somebody that he recognized from Instagram. I think his name is Landry Gandalf. If you guys may know him, I didn't know him at the time, but he's a Christian, influencer, and also, he works out a lot. And that's pretty neat for Gavin to, meet him, and that dude. And there's a picture probably floating around too. He's pretty jacked. Because I was like, dang, he's pretty big. And then we got to, there was this guy that was teaching an audio class, but he was one of the audio technicians, or whatever you're going to call him, on, Disciples in the Moonlight, which is a really cool film. I'd not seen it, and I still need to watch it, but I saw a bunch of clips from it, and Gavin told me kind of a synopsis of it. It's about, these Christians when Christianity becomes illegal, and, they're getting persecuted left and right. And the guy that was teaching the audio class, he worked on the audio for it. And, Gavin got a picture with him because Gavin loved the film. And it was so funny just because, and you might have already seen the picture, like I've said with many others, is that they kind of look like the Mythbusters, because this guy had a long beard, and then, Gavin, I can't think of the guys' names, but they look like, Gavin looked like the other one. I think it might have been, he looked like Adam, and then the other guy, the audio guy, looked like Jamie, and it was so funny. Just to go back and look at that picture and see they look like the Mythbusters. But just to like to go back to Stephen Kendrick and meeting people and everything like that. It was wild, just to see that there was people from all over the world. Not just Albany, Georgia, or just in Georgia in general. Because you could ask somebody, you could turn the corner and say, where are you from? And we met somebody from California. I heard somebody that was standing behind us in line that was from Australia. There were some people from Germany. There was a lot of people there was somebody from a group from South Korea, which they made a great film, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And just seeing all this, there's Christians everywhere, because I think Americans, we kind of put ourselves in a bubble, right? Especially where we live at, even Albany, even though that was an hour and a half away, it's like there's so much more. There's like all this to see, like with Sherwood. Regardless, Albany, where we were, most of it is just, kind of like Valdosta. It's kind of like, just a, kind of a rural, like not really a rural town, but just an older town, whatever, with some restaurants and things like that. But, when you get to Sherwood, it's like, man, there's all this to see just an hour and a half away, and what they're doing for God's kingdom is really cool to bring all these different people together. Just in Albany, Georgia, of all places, they're coming from miles and miles. Me and Gavin only, have driven an hour and a half, to get to this place. And there's people from all over the world. But to talk about some of the films that we saw, it really, shows me that the world of Christian film is getting it's less cringy and it's getting brighter. And also, because I think it's a stigmatism on Christian film, Christian music, Christian anything, the media, that it was kind of cringy, that we didn't know how to do it right in the right way. In a sense, I would agree with you. I've watched some of the older stuff and I'm like, I don't know about that. But there was one film that was really cool, and I'll go and talk about it. It was a short film. It was by kids from South Korea, and they're talking about the persecution of Christians in North Korea. Because that's one of the things they talked about in their behind the scenes when they created the short film, was that their heart when they were filming this is they wanted to show people what type of persecution these Christians in North Korea go through every day. And it was called A Drop of Water. I don't know if I think it might be already out now. I'm not really sure. But it was really, really cool because, so these kids, they're playing adult roles, but it's kids portraying it. So, these kids are, they're not, there was no bloodstains or anything, but they're actively showing the Christians getting shot for their faith and getting killed for their faith. And, just to think, it's one thing when the adults are doing these things and showing that, but it's these young kids, I'm talking really young kids that understand persecution more than any American would. And that's just being honest, because literally, you hop one place over and it's happening right there, from where they're at. And it was really impactful, really, really cool. Some of the other films that me and Gavin watched were some documentaries and things, which the documentaries are really good as well. There was a woman, she was an editor for this big company. But God called her to go on the mission field. I think it was to Africa, so 2 places in Africa. They videoed and things like that. She got to meet her the child she sponsored and everything like that, and that was really neat to see that. And for them to be on mission. And also, there was one that was a nature documentary, and you're thinking nature, ew, gross. But no, this was really, really neat. The way that this guy did it. For people that are listening, if you know who the Wildcrats are, this guy was kind of like a wildcrat almost. And he was talking about, how he would always tie it back to, of course, all the nature stuff, but he was always tying it back to God and how it's God's creation, so we have to take care of it. And that was really cool. There was another film documentary type that talked about, it was I think it was this pretty big church, but they had a really cool, special needs ministry where, all these, because a lot of parents, they were talking about how, they didn't know exactly where, because a lot of churches, they didn't know what to do with their kid, and because they're special needs and everything. But this ministry's got a big special needs ministry and make sure they're welcome. That was really cool to see that. And what was another one? Oh gosh, there were so many. And then one of the other ones, there's a series before I get to the big one that I'm going to talk about. so they showed a pilot for this series. It was called Reborn, and let me tell you, that was really, really good. You know, they premiered it, and it was about, you know, the main character is this kid who, he's got a job and everything like that, and his dad's not the most, he's not a godly man. He drinks, and is pretty abusive towards him. And, but all that, and I'm, pretty sure it was like his sister, he's trying to be happy for her, and, and everything like that. And he's also got this friend who comes to Christ at the end of the episode. But I'm thinking, man, and they left it off on a cliffhanger. I won't say what it was, but I'm thinking, man, I want to watch more of that. And, that's, I think a lot of people now, or like back when Christian media first came about, they didn't say that. They didn't say, man, I want to watch more of that or whatever, because they said it's cringy. Now, there's some, Christians are getting a grasp on how to, take some, able to make the film about God, but make it really, really interesting and make it well made and well done. And that was really, really cool to see that. But then the big one, but actually, I'll talk about something else real fast before we go into the big film. So me and Gavin, we went to, I think it was on Wednesday, so that's why Wednesday was a pretty big day for us, not just because we met the Kendrick brothers, but a few other things as well. And the classes were phenomenal on that day. But so, we're looking, and like they were telling us about some of the deals and stuff that, we had for eating and things. And we saw on the board, there was it said the coffee shop from the Forge. And if you've seen the Forge at the beginning of the film and the end of the film, the main character, or, Isaiah, he goes in there, and it's kind of like, he's very rude to the girl behind the counter, because he's trying to, pretty much just pick her up, right? He wasn't a Christian then. He didn't have the mentors he did, but throughout the film he gets them. But what's pretty cool is that coffee shop is real. I mean, it's a Christian-owned coffee shop called Cornerstone Coffee Co. I'd go if you're in Albany, you're just passing through. Please go and leave a review. The staff in there are super nice. And it was pretty wild. I just didn't expect it. So we're going in, and me and Gavin, we get our coffees, and there was enough for a third one, she said, and she gave us that one for free. And you could have think she could have drank it, like she could have thrown it away, but no, she gave it to us. And it's acts like that really make that could make a Christian stand out amongst a non-believer. Because some people, they may walk in there and they go, all Christians are just rude people, because they might have had that experience. And I'm sorry if you've had that experience, if you're listening, because I promise you, we're not all rude. And it's people like that will, make a difference and show non-believers that we're not rude, and we don't try to be. We might be having bad days just like you do, but we try to show Jesus' light wherever we go. And that was a really cool place. Like I said, Cornerstone Coffee Co. is what it is. It's on the corner of the little in town in Albany. But definitely stop by if you have the chance. Really good stuff. And really, really nice staff in there. So definitely check it out. But on to that film that I was talking about, the big one that we saw like the morning before we left. So that was really, really neat. Reason being, it was because it was set during like colonial times. So if you've heard of George Whitefield, he was a really, really famous preacher back in the day. I didn't really know much about him until that film, and it was a rough cut of it. And so we'll watch it and be like, the music will be different and everything, which will be really fun. It'd be like we're watching another film, when it officially comes out. But it was about George Whitefield, and you're thinking the next part, you're probably thinking, what in the world? So it was about George Whitefield, and his relationship with Benjamin Franklin was like the main focal point. And you're probably thinking, Benjamin Franklin, what has he got to do with God and things? Well, so Benjamin Franklin, just to give you a little synopsis, he had a printing press back in the day. And I mean, this isn't really a spoiler because you could look this stuff up. And George Whitefield was like, hey, I need somebody to, print my stuff and tell people I'm going here, going there, going, and at first George was doing it just for the monetary side of things. Or not George, Benjamin Franklin was. And, but as they grew in their friendship and relationship, Franklin saw that, the spiritual value in it. And, it was really, really neat. And you'll see at the end how that pays off. But it was funny because me and Gavin, we could tell, because they were putting just like placeholder music in there for now until they have a composer and everything. And we could tell because there was a track that started playing, and I whispered over to Gavin. I said, "That track's from Top Gun Maverick. Like that music's from Top Gun Maverick," and it was playing like 1,000 times throughout the film. But that was still cool, though. That that I could recognize that and see that because it was such a funny moment. But that was that film. And like I said, me and Gavin, we're working on another one. So please be in prayer for that. As we go through that, and we're really, really praying that this one's going to be, not a hit. It glorifies God. That's the main thing. But and yes, we want it to do well. But that we, have a better understanding of what God wants us to do on this film, and then the last one, and that we're super excited for it. And I don't think there's anything else. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say on this episode about the Christian Film Festival, but I don't think there is. I didn't want to keep it too long because I usually don't speak too long on these episodes like this when it's just a solo one, because I get it when you hear one guy yapping for too long. It's okay. I get it. You're not keeping my attention. But, like I said, just to wrap things up, it was really, really neat just to meet all those crazy cool people. And, to go with Gavin, for one thing. I wouldn't have wanted to go with anybody else. Gavin, if you're listening, thank you for the fun time, and thank you for being such a great friend. And love the talks we had, dude. Regardless if it was, a deeper one late at night. Why they usually are late at night, I don't know. Or just, in the car. I loved hanging out with you and being with you. And I pray that we get to do it again. I want to go to the film festival again and maybe do another episode on it. And like I said, the future of the Christian Film Festival, or the Christian film making and just media, is so much brighter. And I could see that especially now, especially after going to this festival. And Lord willing, I don't know when we'll have, some physical or, something digital to show people for this new film, but I'm praying that it'll be soon. But, again, Miss Lisa, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to go on this trip with Gavin. And thank you, Lord, for all the amazing opportunities that you gave us to, be like, we stepped out of our comfort zones and, talk to people we didn't know and all that. And, and again, I want to thank Miss Kendrick as well, being such a prayer warrior for us while we were up there. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for the Kendrick brothers for taking the time, Stephen, to come and meet us. And Alex, we'll see you at some point, I'm sure. But Lord, I just want to thank you so much for, this week that I had, and how impactful it was. And for people listening, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And, I pray that, if you enjoyed it, that you would subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you didn't, if not, that's okay too, but I'd appreciate the support. And I ask that if you would like to, I've got Apple, this podcast is on Apple and Spotify as well. And I also have a website now with merchandise and things like that. I'll be more than happy to ship it to you, ship it your way. So if you'd like some merchandise, it'll be linked in the description as well. But again, Lord, thank you so much for this trip, and I hope that you all enjoyed the episode.
With another episode of the Young Minds Podcast coming to a close, I just want to remind you that you are never alone and faith is action. So let's get out there.